What is going on, guys? PoliticsGaming here, and today I am going to be doing a live stream basically to cover several events that are going on. You saw my background there. Cover several events going on in the world. So basically, what's going on is that we have an election in Sweden. This is a very pivotal election in Sweden because there are a couple of things. I mean, I have no idea what that's saying. It's probably telling me to turn off my ad block. But yeah, I mean, we have a very pivotal election going on in Sweden right now because of far-right elements and right-leaning elements that are taking over Sweden and basically saying, and I'm actually going to have someone join in right now. All right. I just started this. What's going on, PTK?
I'm good. Watching the news.
Yeah, I can't understand what they're saying, so I'm not going to be able to really cover that. But I mean, is the Social Democraterna? Is that the leading party, the government's party in Sweden right now?
Yeah. Stefan Löfven is from the Social Democrats. They are akin to the Labour Party in many other nations. They have had not a very good election. It wasn't as bad as it was predicted at the start. They feared that they.
But the Social Democrats got like a 14 seat gain.
I have yet to see that. According to what I can read.
So far, right now, we're seeing 14 seats are going into the Social Democrats' favor.
As far as I can see it, on whatever news I have read here, the percentage of the vote, the Social Democrats have had a decrease by 2.8 percentages. That is bad. Sweden Democrats have gained. The moderates have gained more than they originally feared, and the center party is doing fantastic.
So the center party is most likely going to be the one that comes out of this election on top, right?
No. The issue now is that they fear that basically they have two blocks in Sweden, one right wing, one left wing. They are in rough equal size. And if they're in rough equal size, they can't agree who will become prime minister. Because in Sweden, the parliament elects the...
They're a parliamentary election?
Yeah. So the problem which Stefan Löfven now is having, the leader of the Social Democrats, is that the right-wing parties have said, we're not going to allow you to be the prime minister. No chance in hell.
Which they have the power to say that, right?
Well,
or now at least.
Let's assume that he would get about 40% of the vote. That's not enough to elect someone. So there's a problem there. If they're actually going to do it when Parliament opens and all that, that's another question. But we are in a position where SD, the Sweden Democrats, have about 15% of the vote, which gives them a sort of blocking power. So unless the moderates and the right-wing coalition give in to the Social Democrats, I don't think Stefan Löfven is going to be the prime minister.
So Sweden's most likely going to come out of this election with another prime minister, or it's not for sure, but just kind of like a half chance.
Yeah, I would say about 50-50. I wouldn't put it any more than that. What you have in front of you now is like this. The mandates will be distributed. Yeah. the problem for the other parties is that Sweden Democrats is too much. There has been some rumors of I won't say cheating in the election, but that there might have been some issues which might have been intentional.
Yeah,
How they affect
the
anything,
Mystic
we
Sam
don't know.
86 actually just made a comment. He said over 1% of the votes is invalid.
That does happen rather often. I think last election here in Norway we had 1.5 or so. So a high invalid percentage of the votes is really easy to do. You know, maybe you draw a circle instead of a square. That's an invalid vote, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So 1% is it's within the margin of errors. Åkesson, the leader of the Sweden Democrats, recently came up to the stage and he said, the Sweden Democrats, well, the right-wing coalition will have to ask themselves, do you want Stefan Löfven or do you want Jimmy Åkesson as the new prime minister? So I think we can assess that the Sweden Democrats are starting to view themselves as a new people's party.
Ooh. That sounds communist.
No, they're Venstre. They have 28 mandates according to what you're looking at now.
28?
So, yeah, it's the V.
Oh.
They are, until rather recently, they
call
were
it
the
mandates
Communist Party.
instead of seats?
Yeah. It's, what they call it, Riksdag Delegations, something like that. So it's delegate. But yeah, each delegate has a mandate.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the Swedish election. That's why I was kind of like really like edgy about, not edgy, but like not really thinking that it would be a good idea. Well, the Sweden Democrats actually, they went into the last months of the election with, let me get a closer look at this. I'm actually going to pull this onto the live stream. They actually went into the election. They were almost on par with who was it? Yeah, with the leading party.
No, at the start,
Social Democrat, with the Social Democrats.
Oh yeah, there were some there were some polls which showed that,
Yeah,
but they were very few and far between. So
they were almost actually tied. And then right after they were like reached their peak, like it just shot back down. So like I mean, I think that they probably screwed up somewhere. And I'll go ahead and pull this onto the live stream. I mean, you can see it right here. I mean, obviously, like the Prime Minister's party and stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty strong then. Somewhere around, actually, just before the end of the year of 2017. Like, I mean, it went downhill from there. And then they got really, really close with the Social Democrats, or with the Sweden Democrats. And then so like as soon as they met each other, actually, for some reason it just kind of like split right off.
Until the 80s, I believe Sweden. Well, after the Second World War, most of the Scandinavian countries had de facto one-party states, where the question wasn't how much is the Labour Party going to get. It's how large of a super majority are they going to get. So I think the fact that the Social Democrats are as large as they are, I think that's a historical survival, and I think they will slowly start to decrease because they are going to alienate some of their voters.
Yeah, I don't know. Europe, I mean, that's one reason why I can't really talk for Europe and stuff like that, because, like, I mean, European politics is just so different from American politics. Like,
Yeah, we have more than two parties.
their version of right-leaning parties is completely different from our version of right-leaning parties. And I'm not even talking about like the Republican Party. I'm just talking about like right-leaning, like at all. Like their version of right-leaning is like can't
I
even
once
think.
heard I once heard the reason for that, and that's because the Americans never
They've
had to deal with a war.
Yeah, we've never had to deal with a war on our own soil.
So, when you have a total destruction of a country, it's easier to look to the government, and have less faith in people.
Yeah, they're like European politics. I mean, it's like their version of it is like I mean, like these guys, the Sweden Democrats, like they are anti-immigration. Um, Let me look up some of their policies.
No,
Like
they're and it's kind of interesting because they didn't really have a very clear economic policy before the election.
this is what it says. It says that their ideology, and this is from a Wikipedia, just in case you're wondering. Like it's Swedish nationalism, economic nationalism, social conservatism, national conservatism, right-wing populism, Euroscepticism, and anti-immigration.
Yeah, and most of those are fair enough. It's within the bounds of a Wikipedia article, but their economic policy was not very clear before this election, and during this election they became more and more right wing on their economic policy. But they're still for some sort of welfare system. It's instead of spending welfare money on the immigrants, they want to spend it on the old people.
So how much, like, in your own opinion, actually, like, since you're like literally bordering Norway, I mean, Sweden, like, do you think the refugee crisis, the rape crisis, stuff like that, played a pivotal role in how these election results came out?
I think there's something to that because when I think a lot of people, especially if you're from let's say you're from a working class background or maybe even a lower middle class background, the immigrants get their butts stuffed with money, and you're sat there without any employment, and things are not really improving all that much if you're part of the lower middle class or working class. I think immigration, especially low skill immigration, has put a large amount of stress on those type of people. And
So you think it's more of an economic reaction instead of a social reaction?
no, I think there's something cultural there as well. But if you live on the countryside in Skåne, you're not living in Malmö. So, but when you have a grenade attack in Malmö, the entire nation, kind of gets a reaction. What the devil happened here? So even if it doesn't hit them directly, you're going to have some sort of effect. But I think a lot of it is maybe more due to economic realities, which impact the cultural one. In your live stream chat, I see that Mystic Sam, the Social Democrats have imported voters for a couple of years now, and will still continue
Is
doing
there
it
any
after
proof
the
of that?
elections. Well,
Because I mean, you can say like
immigrants tend to
quote
vote
unquote importing votes is a very broad term because you could literally say that any immigration at all is importing votes.
Well, let's say that the populations which they are very for taking in are particularly left wing. So, you know, I think there's some truth to it. You know, it's not necessarily some sort of a great evil plot. You know, all the world's biggest banks and all the world's whatever are behind it. But I don't think they are completely blind to the fact that immigrants tend to vote left wing. So I think there's something there.
So would it be importing votes if it was more split, or if it was like if they were voting more right wing?
If they voted right wing, you still would import votes, but
So it's importing votes because it's not in a more like kind of split sense.
well, say you took in work immigrants and everything between A and B, and you can always make an argument for working immigrants. So you need an IT specialist. Okay, then you need an IT specialist. It doesn't matter if it's a communist or if it's a neo-Nazi. It doesn't matter.
Probably
But you
matter to
need that.
you if it was a communist.
Yeah, but you get my point. Um, you know, the point of him.
I don't want any communist immigrant working on my IT.
Oof. But at any point, you kind of need that immigrant, no matter what he votes. But when you take in refugees, people understand that they will, if given the chance, vote left wing. So there's if you're particularly pro taking in refugees, you can start wondering, are you trying to scratch your own back here?
I think like people, I'm not saying everyone who does this like like is like this, but I think this is kind of like a general sense of what gets people to start doing this. I think it's more of like a guilt-based reaction that you see people like in Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, like
Sure.
in parts of Africa and stuff like that. You're seeing all these people like suffering, dying, stuff like that, killing each other. And you're seeing all that, and then you kind of think to yourself and you say, like, what can I do to stop this? Like,
Sure.
so
Sweden used
then
itself
what
as
they,
a humanitarian superpower. That's
yeah.
kind of what it does.
And then so I feel like that's actually starting to like stab him in the back because like those policies, they started like getting really, really into that. And it's starting to like I mean you have like rape going up, which I mean I'm not saying that the rape like it's only being committed by like refugees and immigrants, but I mean ever since they started coming in, that number has continued to go up. It has not gone down. Like
Sweden has roughly equal regulation on rape that we do. So you would expect that the per capita rape would be roughly the same between Norway and Sweden,
is it
but it
higher?
is, if I recall correctly, it is higher in Sweden, and it's quite a lot higher,
Let me look.
even when yeah, do that. What people really were fearing is that, people on the left were kind of fearing that some of the smaller parties would fall out because you need 4% of the vote to be allowed entry into the parliament. And if you don't have that, all your votes are kind of pissed away. Another interesting change is the center party. I'm going to translate that as Farmers Party because in the original, it kind of started as a farmers' party, but it's
Agrarian party.
Yeah, but it's slowly turned more and more into a regular bourgeoisie party.
So here's a.
Yep.
Hang on. Okay, so sexual crimes. This is Sweden's National Council for Crime Prevention. This is sexual crimes, not necessarily rape, and the it says the vulnerability of the population 16 to 79. Though those are the ages that were sampled, and so in 2009 it was hovering just under 1.5%, and then so it kind of trickled down to about 1.3%, then to about 1.1% in 2011, and then to 2012. So since 2012, I know this. Since 2012, like rape and sexual crimes have actually like started to trickle up.
Yeah.
And so
how is it in 2015?
So 2012 it was around like 1.4%. Then 2013 it shot up to about 2.5%. Then it went back down to about 2% or 1.8% in 2014. Then in 2015, and this is women, by the way. This is not the general population. And then 2015 it shot up to 3%.
Yeah. 2015 you saw a refugee crisis, which was larger than normal, and Sweden does take a lot of immigrants each year.
Yes, and then but this is also another thing. This is reported sexual offenses, which include sexual molestation, rape, sexual coercion, exploitation, etc. So 2013, it was hovering around between about 17,000, and then 2014 it shot up to about 20,000, but 2015 it actually dropped to about 18,000. So, that's actually all of them. That's sexual molestation, rape, and exploitation. Blah blah blah. That's just like the general thing. So it actually dropped around into 2015, which, I mean, it could be several things. I mean, it's a vulnerability of the population, especially in women. I mean, that went up, but I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, you have a lot of people. I mean, they don't want to like report it because I mean, here, they hear all this stuff and they don't want to alienate refugees, and they don't want to give like the far right more ammo to say anything.
I think that's overblown, the amount of times that happens. It probably does happen every now and then, but I don't think that is happening all that often.
No, yeah, like
I have yet to see any proof that happens enough to be statistically important, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm saying like that could be like just a thing. I'm like anything I'm saying, I'm not using it as a general sense. I'm not saying this is exactly how people think, because that's not how people think. I mean, I'm not like a statistic person. I'm not a professional. Like, I'm just kind of going off of like stuff that, especially now. I mean, like you hear all this stuff, and people sometimes, I mean, they tend not to report it because they don't want to alienate that person.
It wouldn't. Well, here's the thing in Norway. In Norway, about I think it's about 30% of the people in jail do not hold a Norwegian citizenship.
They
At
don't
an
hold
absolute
it?
maximum, they do not hold a Norwegian citizenship. 30%.
30?
Of the jail population.
Damn.
The amount of people in Norway which maximum does not hold a Norwegian citizenship is 2025. So foreigners have an overrepresentation in Norwegian jails. It wouldn't surprise me if that also was the case in Sweden and in Denmark.
Yeah, I mean, Scandinavia is honestly like such a broad thing, like because the policies they have over there, especially in Norway and Sweden, like it's just it's I wouldn't say confusing. I would just say it's well, how can you put it? I'm kind of at a loss for words.
I would say that Norway, Sweden, and Denmark in particular are about 90% the same. But in those 10% where they are different, they can be very different. Because, if one wants to look at our populations, you could argue that a Swede is in a region who can't speak properly. So I don't think there's any massive traditional cultural differences between us, which would
They should just join together.
Well, we tried that once, but then the Swedish got upset and started to rebel. It was probably for the best. But
When was that?
15
Oh, come
something.
on, that's 500 years ago.
Yeah, we've learned our lesson.
And people think that a one world government would work.
Yeah, very.
That's something I think is stupid whenever people say, "Oh yeah, like one world government." You really like that retarded that you actually think something like that would work?
Well, as long as you keep the Swedish out of the country, they will probably be perfectly fine. So the entire world except the Swedish.
Sure. Let's all just unite
Finland.
under British rule.
Yeah. No. That would be Jeremy Corbyn and Abbott. No good.
Jeremy Corbyn keeps dying in my Power and Revolution games. I swear to God.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the results though for all this. Like, I mean, none of the results are actually starting to change. So I think these are the numbers that are actually gonna walk out of the election with.
Well, we have a 5% margin of error, and that's fair enough. So we can work with these numbers. The Christian Democrats did very well. People started to fear that they and the Green Party would fall out of the parliament, but they did very well.
The Green Party, is that the center party?
No, that's Miljöpartiet. It's on the bottom. 4.4% of the vote.
Ooh.
4% and you fall out of parliament. Liberalerna, they are social liberal, I believe they call themselves. They've always been at about 5.5%. Nothing really changed.
Yeah.
Venstrepartiet, which is the V on the screen, they are.
Yeah, I finally translated the page. It's showing the like Social Democrats, Moderates, Sweden Democrats, Center Party, the left, Christian Democrats, Liberals, and Green Party.
Yeah, lovely. Venstrepartiet, they were until rather recently a communist party, and they probably could fit in as the soft end of a normal communist party or the hard end of a socialist party. So somewhere in that line. So in general, it looks like there has been a loss for the traditional establishment parties, the Social Democrats and the moderates, and people have profited on them.
Wow. All right. So since most of that was done. I'm actually starting to hit the 30-minute mark, so I was actually going to go ahead and change the topics. Were you wanting to stay, or?
I'll actually, I see that Mysticism 86 has notified something here.
Hmm?
BBC is as bad as, if you read in your chat, the BBC and the SVT. The STV is the Swedish version of the BBC. And basically, they, during the leadership debates, I think it's a few days ago now, and in theory, normally they are supposed to be very neutral, but during the end of that debate, they went in and said to the Sweden Democrats, we take strong, we do not support anything which the SD says, and fuck them, basically. So I think the Sweden Democrats had a very substantial boost because the state-owned Swedish media at least gave the impression of a sincere bias.
So the SVT is actually the state media?
Yeah, it's paid by license money.
Okay.
It's basically the BBC.
It's like the BBC of Sweden, yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm looking at it. I'm seeing a
So
couple of things. Um. Oh, here's something on it.
yeah.
So there's a couple of other things. I mean, like the French president actually like kind of got involved in the election. There's another thing, a report about foreigners. Since we were talking about rape earlier, like foreigners apparently make up 58% of all rapes in Sweden. And that was
That would not at all surprise me.
yeah, I know. Like that's actually a BBC report.
Yeah, then it's probably
Says public broadcaster SVT said it had counted all court convictions to present a complete picture in Sweden. But Sweden has thousands more reported rapes and there's no ethnic breakdown for those. So when Sweden took in its highest number of asylum seekers in 2015, the number of reported rapes declined by 12%. At the height of the migration crisis, some 160,000 migrants arrived here, or there, more per capita than any other EU country. And then rape and attempted rape, by origin of 843 convicted offenders. 416 of those were from Sweden and other European countries. And then 197 of them were from the Middle East and North Africa. Then there's Southern Africa and other outside of Europe.
Yeah. Some of it can be written off due to Swedish way of counting crimes.
Is there a different way that they actually count crimes?
As far as I can understand it, basically, if you say you break into a house twice. In the United States, you will be persecuted for breaking into a house. In Sweden, you will be persecuted for breaking into a house one, and then you will be persecuted for breaking into house two. So you'll be persecuted two times, meaning that the crime rate in cases of serial criminals can be somewhat inflated, but the degree of this is questionable.
Huh.
In I think it's 3 weeks, the Swedish parliament will have to have their new prime minister elected, and basically everything should be back in order. So there's going to be some very interesting coming weeks in Swedish politics.
Yeah. Actually, I'll probably like cover that and stuff like that. If any major developments happen, then I would definitely say like get with me, and then I can make a
Yeah.
But Mr. Cheeky Monkey is actually asking, which side do you support? I don't really have a position that I've taken because like I'm not familiar with Swedish politics. Like the only thing I really know about it is because like everyone always talking about rape and stuff like that. So
I like Mystic Sam's comment there. Not the left. That's a very sound
not
piece.
left.
That's a very sound opinion to hold there. And if I were a Swede, I would agree.
But I mean, I don't know. So moving on from that, I'm actually gonna go ahead and start. Because actually, I mean, tomorrow actually, I'm actually having a debate with Zach Z. He was actually someone who like got into this like feud with Let's Talk Elections and stuff like that.
Ah,
So
I haven't heard
tomorrow,
about that.
yeah, I actually have a video prepared and stuff like that for it. So like I should post it. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and upload it right now. Um,
That sounds like a good idea. I'll leave you to it.
well, I'm still gonna be live, but
Yeah. What are you going to do there from? If there's any use of me being here.
I don't know. Someone to talk to.
Of course.
I don't know. If you want to go ahead and head out, then I can. Then I don't mind now. I mean, I can like hold my own.
Yeah, you probably can, but I'll
Probably
stick
like
around.
just like live stream my summer car and like kill myself.
Yeah, that sounds very reasonable that you will do.
But like I don't know. It's like I mean, I talked to him earlier and stuff like that. I mean, he's actually pretty cool. Like, I mean,
That's good.
most of the time, I mean, we were just literally criticizing Let's Talk Elections.
I have never watched one of his videos, and I probably
Oh my god, it's so bad. Like, it's like huh?
I'm glad to hear that you are torturing yourself.
What do you mean?
Why you watch stupid shit if you don't have to watch stupid shit?
No, it's like it's I don't think it's stupid because it works for him and stuff like that. The only thing I think is dumb is that he's running out of ideas and he's not admitting to it. Like, I don't know. Like most of his content is literally just election analysis and stuff like that, and that's like something that I've noticed, and I mean it's pretty prevalent now, and it's starting to like I mean one of his videos like I mean he was like talking about like 2018 election results based on the 2000 elections, and I'm like that makes no sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. I agree.
I'm literally
Zach
gonna make a
said
meme about
who's
it.
in your chat.
Yes, that's him right there, the one who's talking in the chat right now. Hey
I'm not
Zach,
a Russian.
meet my Norwegian racist friend.
Quality conscious. Go on.
No, but I don't know. Other than that, I mean, tomorrow, like we should actually do it around tomorrow, 12:30. So, I mean, that's something to look forward to. I mean, you know, it's gonna be me and him just like stuttering and like being retarded half the time. But
That's good.
Um, Other than that, actually, I mean, um, I think I'll actually leave you to it, and I'll probably just call you after I'm done live streaming and stuff like that. I'm gonna go ahead
Yep.
and live stream for another like 20 minutes or something like that.
Good plan. If you're going to play My Summer Car,
I want to kill myself.
remember to take the boat. It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot quicker.
Take the boat?
Cheers, man. Yeah, the boat. You go
I
down
tried to
the
do
boat.
that, and I couldn't like, I had to run back and forth with the shopping and stuff like that. Gay.
Yeah. That takes less time still because, and it costs you like 11. It costs you 6 mark to travel between your dock and the city dock.
Is it a diesel boat or gasoline?
No, it's a 2-stroke.
Oh shit.
You have to buy it in the shop. You start with a full engine, so that's no problem. And it takes quarter of the time it takes to drive the car.
Hell yeah.
So
I'll probably
it's
try
very
that.
efficient. All right.
All
Very
right.
good.
I'll see you.
Cheers, man.
All right, so I'm actually gonna start covering a couple other things. So yeah, for those who are watching right now, tomorrow around 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and 12 o'clock Central Time, me and Zach Z are going to have a debate. I'm gonna go ahead and link his channel right now into the chat, so you guys can go subscribe to him. So, God, my throat. Let me find his channel. And we're gonna go ahead and there's his channel, guys. So everyone who's watching right now, go ahead and go subscribe to him. Go ahead and give him that well-deserved subscribe because he is actually growing pretty fast, and he actually already just posted debate announcements. So hell yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and kill myself. So I actually want to get his thing, like his subscriber count. I actually want to watch it, see if you guys actually, all 6 people that are actually watching this video are actually going to subscribe to him. Which you guys better, or else you guys are not going to be my friends anymore. Anyway, so with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and start going on to another thing. So what we're going to go ahead and start talking about is we're going to be talking about the 2018 elections that are happening right now. So what's going on is that several things have actually happened in the last couple of days since the last well, actually not couple, yeah, I mean actually a couple of days. Because, I mean, one of the big things is actually a big difference is actually going to be made right now. Basically, Texas is now a battleground state according to Real Clear Politics. Real Clear Politics, anything under 6 points or 5 points, they usually tend to like create more of a rift and stuff like that. So now a recent poll that came out of Texas that was conducted by Emerson suggested that Cruz and Beto O'Rourke, the guy who's running against Ted Cruz for the Democratic Party in Texas, he actually is 1 point. Ted Cruz is 1 point separated from Beto O'Rourke. So that is a massive difference. And it could spell trouble for Ted Cruz. It could spawn Donald Trump to actually come over to Texas and start campaigning for Cruz. If that actually happens, then I'm going to go ahead and do what I can to actually... I'm going to do what I can to actually try to see if I can actually go see Ted. But other than that, I actually next week, I am actually going to see Beto O'Rourke. I'm actually going to go to a town hall that he's going to be conducting, and I'm actually going to go ahead and try to document it if I can. If I can't, then I'll tell you guys what happened. But that should actually be very fun, and I'm actually going to share that with you guys once I can. But other than that, we're actually seeing the last two polls that actually came out of Florida, both of them were ties. They were 47-47 by Gravis, and then Quinnipiac 49-49. So it's actually a very close race in Florida. My gut feeling is actually saying that who is it? Rick Scott will actually win. I think Rick Scott has a more of a potential for winning the Senate and ousting Bill Nelson. I think that's going to be one of the biggest upsets in this 2018 election race. So I'm going to go over here. We're going to go to this. And honestly, this is going to be my election prediction as of now. 53-47, like, I mean, in any case, Tennessee could go blue. So that could just be 52-48. A one seat gain for the Republicans, which would actually, I mean, actually they would not really a gain. Actually, they would lose 2 seats, but then gain in there. So they would basically have a net gain. Yeah, that's basically what I was trying to figure out. It's a net gain of 1. So that's honestly the best case scenario that I'm looking at for the Republicans right now. Once we start getting into the election around October, I'm definitely going to be making more of these videos and stuff like that. Not really election predictions, but analyses. More analysis on polls and stuff like that. You know, prediction is not something that's too fun because, I mean, you know, these things are valid for probably like 3 days, and then there's going to be another poll that comes out, and like your whole point is invalid unless it grows. So, and then in any case, I feel like Texas will actually be light red. The race in Texas is actually like really catching my attention because I believe that Texas could be a battleground state. My God, PG is becoming LTE. No, I would be becoming LTE if if I was literally sitting here saying like, well, I mean, you know, this, and this, Trump approval polls, blah blah blah. I'm not going off of approval polls. I'm not going off of this. I'm not going off of that. I'm going off of my own gut feelings. And my gut feelings change, as do polls and stuff like that. So it's more of the same thing. I do go off of polls, but going off of polls only works for so long, and it's not. It doesn't make too much sense. So, obviously, I'm not going to become LTE because I'm not gay. That was a joke, by the way. So, other than that, this is really what I'm looking at for the Senate this year. Other than that, you know, I think it's way too early to start saying like who's gonna run, who's gonna do what, blah blah blah. Like, I mean, I think that's another criticism I actually have for Let's Talk Elections. I think, like, I mean, the 2020 election videos and stuff like that, I mean, look at this. We're 786 days from the 2020 election. We're only 58 days. It makes more sense to, like, pump out as many 2018 election videos as you can. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, a best case scenario. I mean, unless, like, I mean, I'm literally looking at one of these guys. Other than that, I'm not just going to do some random Democrat. Unless I'm doing a generic Democrat, but there's such a broad spectrum of... Well, actually, there's not really a broad spectrum anymore because of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. That's actually another thing, is that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party is causing so much trouble for the Democrats right now. And that's another reason why I think that, that's another reason why I think, like, something big is going to happen, this year. Probably for the not the I mean the house is probably going to flip. Like I mean it's pretty certain that something may happen. Um, in any case, I think the Republicans are going to lose seats. I think that the Republicans may lose seats. In a good scenario, they will keep their majority, but only by the slimmest margin. 218 seats is the magic number to basically keep the majority. Once November 6th runs, or November 3rd, I think is the election. Once November 3rd comes around, I will actually do like I think I'm going to do an election coverage of the election. That's pretty certain. There's no way that I could just pass that up. If I can't, I have a feeling that I probably wouldn't be able to, so I don't know. But anyway, I'm actually going to go ahead and end this live stream, and I'm going to go ahead and post my announcement video for the debate with Zach Z. I think this is a pretty fun live stream. I mean, we covered a couple of things, Sweden elections, the debate between me and Zach Z, and the 2018 elections. So, guys, if you guys like this, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and guys, go ahead and join my Discord. The Discord is in the description below. Do a super chat before I go, if you can. Super chats are always appreciated, guys, and I love you guys for it. Go to my Patreon, support me on Patreon, and join me tomorrow for that debate with Zach Z. So let me actually look at one more thing. I'm actually gonna go ahead and look right here. Latest polls. We have we have a new poll out of Arizona. We have Mick Sally in the lead. This is exactly one reason why I never really wanted to make any assumptions about Arizona, because Arizona, everyone was always saying, well, they're going to go Democrat. That was even before the primaries, and I mean the primaries wasn't exactly certain who was going to win in the primaries. So the so this is actually good news for the Republicans. It's showing that there are still Republicans out there who are willing to reelect a Republican to the Arizona Senate. So this is up to you guys to actually analyze this and figure out what you think is going to happen. So guys, I mean, this is one reason why they can easily flip is my point. Yeah, I mean I completely agree, and that's why I'm not going to go off of polls and stuff like that. I mean it's a sign, but it's not something that should be relied on. But if you're going to sit there and say, I mean this is another thing, and I know I get so distracted before I try to go off and stuff like that, but I agree with let's talk elections, because thank you so much, Mr. Cheeky Monkey, for that £5 donation and that sweet message. That's hilarious. But anyway, what my point was is that I agree with let's talk elections when he says that the polls weren't exactly wrong in the 2016 election, and they weren't wrong because they were only wrong in only 3 states. 4 or 5 states if you include states like Florida, or I think it would be 4 because actually no, 5, because it was like Arizona, not Arizona, it was Nevada, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Florida, depending on who you were looking at. So if you want to say that the polls were wrong, it's not the national polls. Being wrong on 4 or 5 states is quite a major difference. Well, yeah, but it's a lot of people said that the polls were wrong because they were looking at Real Clear Politics as average, and I mean, hang on, actually, 2000. Let me actually pull this up. The general election actually ended on a very similar note to how Real Clear Politics did it, and this is what people were looking at whenever it was leading up to the election. So the RCP average ended with 3.3% in Clinton's favor. That was this is the popular vote. This is not the Electoral College. So, like, it was 3.3% in Clinton's favor. But the final results, the actual election results, ended with 2.1% in Clinton's favor. Again, that is the popular vote margin. So it's not exactly wrong when this is what they did. I mean, there were polls in Pennsylvania and stuff like that, but they were most likely sampling out of like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. That's some of the only cities that, the big cities is where all the people are, and they tend to vote Democrat. An exception of this is Erie, Pennsylvania, Erie County, where they actually voted for the Republican. They actually voted for Donald Trump. And Erie County actually helped Trump win Pennsylvania. I mean, that was one thing that I actually noticed, is that Erie County was actually going to a Republican. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave it right here. If you guys like this, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at about noon Central Time. So make sure to be here for that debate, and I'll see you guys there. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and take care.